It's 10 o'clock. This is Sky News at 10. Our top story. Criminal justice in the dock after 2 prisoners are freed mistakenly from jail, including an Algerian registered sex offender. The Justice Secretary says he is outraged and appalled, but faces questions over why he didn't reveal the details of the case when asked in Parliament. Also tonight. They've installed a communist as mayor. Donald Trump on the rising star of the Democrat Party, now elected to New York City Hall. He threatened to kill his father as well, the evidence from Axel Rudakabana's family at the inquiry into the Southport murders. The father of 2 who died after being restrained by police, and the former officer who tells us she's no racist.
We were sent to a call. The man who we were sent to was black. That's as far as it goes. We are not racist, murdering police officers.
William walking in the footsteps of his mother, the Prince in Rio, ahead of his environmental Earthshot Prize ceremony tonight. And we'll take a first look at tomorrow's front pages in our press preview from 10:30 right through to midnight. Good evening. The Deputy Prime Minister and Justice Secretary couldn't have been clearer to MPs today. After the accidental release of an asylum-seeking prisoner, he had put in place the toughest checks the country had ever seen in the prison system. Unfortunately for David Lammy, just days later, not 1 but 2 prisoners were mistakenly freed from the same jail. One of them, Brahim Kadour Sharif, is an Algerian and a registered sex offender. Mr Lammy is facing calls for him to return to Parliament and explain why he didn't reveal details about the case earlier, while the police are hunting for the men. Our national correspondent, Tom Parmenter, reports from Wandsworth Prison.
It's happened again. Not 1, but 2 prisoners let out by mistake, this time at Wandsworth Prison in southwest London. 2 manhunts are now underway. First, 24-year-old Brahim Kadour Sharif. The Algerian national is a registered sex offender who was serving time for another offence. This was him when he was arrested in September. He was due to be deported due to overstaying his visa. The police are now urgently trying to find him. He was let out on October the 29th. Astonishingly, it took 6 days for the prison authorities to tell the police he was missing. It comes straight after the case of Hadish Kabatu, another convicted sex offender. He was released in error from Chelmsford Prison. He was on the run for 48 hours before being caught and deported. The Justice Secretary, David Lammy, was asked about it in the comments.
Can he reassure the House that since Kabatu was released, no other asylum-seeking offender has been accidentally let out of prison? It's a very specific question for him to answer.
The Algerian sex offender is not an asylum seeker, but Mr Lammy didn't answer the question.
After his release, I put in place the toughest checks we've ever had in the prison system. It is important that Lynn Owens is able to get to the bottom of her work. I suspect there'll be more checks and balances we need to do. What we inherited was a complicated system that they set up, letting people out on the sly. That's part of the problem, and we're trying to fix it.
In his latest statement, the Justice Secretary said, "I'm absolutely outraged and appalled by the mistaken release of a foreign criminal wanted by the police. The Metropolitan Police is leading an urgent manhunt, and my officials have been working through the night to take him back to prison. Victims deserve better, and the public deserve answers." They do, because this happens more than you might think. Every month across the country, around 22 prisoners are released like this. David Lammy may say that he has now the tightest checks ever in place on prison gates, but they're clearly not working. The second mistake at Wandsworth was the release of this man, Billy Smith, from Woking in Surrey. He'd been sentenced to 45 months for fraud offences, but released on the same day. The courts gave the prison the wrong instructions. It all points to a criminal justice system that's failing victims and communities. Both of these manhunts were entirely avoidable and illustrate the gap between government ambition and the reality of what's happening inside. Tom Parmenter, Sky News, Wandsworth Prison.
Let's speak now to our chief political correspondent, John Craig. And John, this isn't just a criminal justice challenge for the government. It's a political challenge for David Lammy as well, with some opponents accusing him of misleading MPs.
It's not just a crisis for the criminal justice system, no, it's a full-blown political crisis engulfing Mr Lammy. Now, he's the Deputy Prime Minister as well as Justice Secretary. He was standing in for Sir Keir Starmer at PMQs today because the Prime Minister is off to Brazil for the COP summit. Now, he had faced something of an ambush from James Cartledge, the Shadow Defence Secretary, who was standing in for Kemi Badenoch. 5 times Mr Cartledge asked that question, are there any more mistaken releases? And Mr Lammy just refused to answer. And so he stands accused of being evasive, misleading MPs, and indeed a cover-up. Now, at the end of Prime Minister's questions, Mr Cartledge revealed that, in fact, this was now in the public domain. The Speaker gestured to Mr Lammy to respond, but he hurtled out of the chamber. Well, in the past hour, the Ministry of Justice, Mr Lammy's officials, have attempted a rebuttal against all the criticism and the charges of a cover-up and misleading MPs. In a statement, the Ministry of Justice has said this through a spokesperson: the crisis in the prison system that the government inherited is such that basic information about individual cases can take unacceptably long to reach ministers. The statement goes on entering the House, facts were still emerging about the case, and the Deputy Prime Minister had not been accurately informed of key details, including the offender's immigration status. Now, the statement goes on to talk about how this was not public at that time at PMQs, although Mr Cartledge did raise it at 12:30. And, of course, it's a police investigation. He was asked about the release of an asylum seeker. And, of course, it's now known that the individual was not an asylum seeker. So there were attempts to drag Mr Lammy back to the House of Commons, points of order from Tories. The Speaker backed that. He didn't. The House rose for a mini recess at 7:35 tonight. They're not back till Tuesday. The Times is reporting the reason he didn't go back was because his aide feared it would be, in their words, career suicide. Well, Mr Lammy's career is in trouble, if not suicidal.
John, thank you very much for the moment. Donald Trump rarely appears to dodge a battle, but in his first response to the election of the man he calls a communist to become mayor of America's most famous city, he appeared to pull his punches. He blamed the US government shutdown for the success of Zohran Mamdani and other Democrats in yesterday's elections, and suggested he might even help New York's new mayor. Speaking to journalists, including our US correspondent, James Matthews, Mr Mamdani said his victory offered a lesson for the president.
We took a trip to Queens, New York, home of the new mayor.
Stand clear of the closing door.
On the subway, they'd heard.
I think it's time for a new change for the city, and I think he's going to be a young, fresh start.
Now to buy a house here in New York, you got to have $1 million. Most people don't have that kind of money over here.
See the answer?
I don't know. I guess time will tell. So I don't want to, prophesy anything negative. Time will tell. This is my stop, guys.
Zohran Mamdani, as the history maker, handed the keys to City Hall. This was a morning after press conference, news and sport. James Matthews from Sky News, Mr Mamdani.
First, I just have to say I've spent many days in my youth watching the transfer window close, final hours on Sky News, so it's a pleasure to have you here.
What's your team?
I'm an Arsenal fan. I have to be honest, when you said you were from Sky News, I just got very excited. Could you repeat the question one more time?
Tell me, what do you think the lesson is of your victory last night for the Democratic Party, your party, which has been slow to endorse you and to embrace you? And what's the lesson for Donald Trump?
I think the lesson for the president is that it's not enough to diagnose the crisis in working class Americans' lives. You have to deliver on addressing that crisis. What scares Republicans across the country is the fact that we will actually deliver on this agenda. And the contrast is something that they cannot bear to witness.
New York was part of a night of Democrat success that saw victories in Virginia, New Jersey and California. Supporters of Mamdani, a democratic socialist, see it as a change of gear and direction. Opponents from the White House down see a left turn.
If you want to see what congressional Democrats wish to do to America, just look at the result of yesterday's election in New York, where their party installed a communist as the mayor of the largest city in the nation.
Zohran Mamdani built a coalition across New York society. His political offering reeled in Republicans. It also landed with key demographics in US politics. Mamdani found the formula in the Big Apple. Making it work bigger picture is the challenge of a Democratic establishment unconvinced that it can. For the Arsenal supporter at the heart of US politics, there is no easy win.
And James Matthews is in New York for us tonight. And James, so we learned that New York's mayor-elect is a fan of Sky and English football. He was a bit starstruck even speaking to you. But what did we learn about his likely relationship with Donald Trump?
Yeah, I think he's more impressed with Arsenal and Sky Sports News than he is with me, Gillian, but thank you. It was interesting. He was engaging today. You got a sense of what the man they call an authentic politician. I mean, politicians do all play that game, but some better than others. On Donald Trump, he was asked, has he congratulated you? There had been no word from the White House. He said that he would like to speak to Donald Trump about politics and about progress. I think the chances of that happening anytime soon are virtually nil. You heard it there. Donald Trump clearly plans to use Mamdani as a weapon against the Democratic Party, calling this democratic socialist a communist, because he knows that will resonate in the parts of middle America where the next election will be won and lost. Mamdani succeeded. He found the secret ingredient to succeed and engage with New Yorkers. The tricky part, of course, recognized by the Democratic establishment, will be in translating that success to the wider electorate nationwide. But one thing he did was to increase support in key areas amongst communities that put Donald Trump over the line last time around, Latinos and in the black community. That's clearly a success that the Democrat movement at large needs to harness. It needs to square the circle and somehow bottle that success and support that Mamdani harnessed here and gained here in New York and take that to the wider electorate around the country at the midterms next year and, of course, in 2028.
James, thank you very much. The father of the Southport attacker has told the public inquiry into the murders that he is desperately sorry and accepts a share of responsibility. Alphonse Rudacabana revealed that he too had faced violence from his son Axel, who threatened to kill him if he forced him from the family home. Katie Barnfield reports.
There's a knife up there, it's been disarmed.
Any more kids in there?
When Axel Rudacabana carried out his deadly attack on a children's dance class, his behaviour shocked the country. But his father told the attack inquiry that violence from his son was nothing new, and that he'd seen it so much he became conditioned to expect it. In one incident in early 2024, months before the Southport attack, the inquiry was told Axel Rudacabana poured an entire bottle of oil over his father's head and threatened to kill him.
His eyes were very red, and it seemed like he had some kind of mental anguish, some kind of mental pain. He was poking my chest and saying, if you get me out of here, this house, it may take a day, a week, or it may be years. I will kill you, and trust me, I will kill you.
The inquiry's lawyer, Nicholas Moss-Casey, accused Alphonse of undermining the agencies trying to deal with his son's violence. Mr Moss said his father had called up Childline to complain about them reporting him to the police when he said he wanted to stab someone. When Axel Rudacabana went back to his former school and attacked a pupil with a hockey stick, the inquiry was told that officers threatened to arrest Alphonse himself as he argued with them about bringing his son home in handcuffs. Mr Moss said Axel Ruda was accessing degrading, violent and gory material online and ordering weapons, including a machete to the family home in 2023. But, he said, Alphonse failed to put in parental controls to restrict his internet use. In his written statement, Alphonse said he was frightened of his son, which prevented him from doing things a parent would normally do.
This had catastrophic consequences for which I am desperately sorry. I accept that I bear my share of the responsibility and that by not challenging AR's behaviour, he was allowed to acquire dangerous weapons and view inappropriate content online.
Alphonse Ruda told the inquiry he now accepts he was very naive, that he had lost control as a father and no longer had any power over a son who would go on to kill. Katie Barnfield, Sky News in Liverpool.
A police officer who was knocked unconscious by a suspect spotted wielding a knife has told Sky News she and her colleagues were branded racist and murdering following the man's death after being restrained. Sheku Bayoh, a father of two from Fife, stopped breathing after being pinned down by police in 2015. Mr Bayoh was not in possession of a knife when he died, but a weapon was found nearby. A public inquiry is examining whether race played a factor in the incident. Nicole Short was one of the first officers on the scene. She's spoken publicly for the first time to our Scotland correspondent, Conor Gillis.
I thought he was going to kill me. He came boxer skipping towards me. He said, "Effing come on then." But he kept coming at me with his fists up like a boxer. I was running away before I realised it wasn't even like a conscious decision to run. It was happening. And then I could feel him behind me, and then the punch, and I felt myself falling. And that's when I thought, I'm done here, that's it. He was on a mission.
Despite the reports of a man brandishing a knife, you didn't find a knife, is that right?
He didn't have it on him at the time, not that we could see anyway, but that's not to say it wasn't concealed.
Did you believe he had a knife on him?
Yeah.
What did you believe he would be capable of doing with that knife?
Stabbing somebody, murdering somebody.
Including you?
Yeah.
Sheku Bayoh's family believe that race played a factor in this. Mm-hmm. Do you believe that you have been painted out to be a racist?
Yeah, yeah. And it's been horrible. It's been horrible for myself, my family.
Are you racist?
No, no way, no way.
Would you have acted differently in that moment if it was a white man?
No, he was a man with a knife, a dangerous weapon, and members of the public had phoned us because they were scared, because they were terrified, actually.
He's dead and he died in police custody. So can you see why there may be concerns from that family that if there was even a hint of racism being involved here, that should be explored?
It's tragic. He lost his life. Nobody goes to work as a police officer or anybody. Nobody wants anyone to die in their care or anything like that. But I believe that two things can be true at the same time. It's a tragedy that he died, and we all feel that every day. But his actions on that day, well, it's left me with a lifelong mental health condition. Race was mentioned early on, and I couldn't believe it. I couldn't believe that on top of everything else, that then we were accused of being racist, murdering police officers. I couldn't quite get my head around that, and we were all white police officers. We were sent to a call. The man who we were sent to was black. That's as far as it goes. We are not racist, murdering police officers.
Well, tonight, the lawyer of the family for Sheku Bayoh responded to former officer Nicole Short's interview with Conor Gillis. Amar Anwar said the words of Nicole Short today are grotesque and a further attempt to smear, criminalise and negate Sheku's right to life. There is only one person that died that day, and it was a 31-year-old unarmed black man, a father of two boys, suffering mental health crisis due to drugs he took. He died as a result of restraint by up to 6 officers with half a ton weight on top of him. Those are the facts. Police have confirmed that the dog which attacked and killed a 9-month-old baby in Monmouthshire was an XL bully. Officers and paramedics were called to a property at Roggett near Caldicot on Sunday evening, where the baby boy was pronounced dead at the scene. Police said today the dog was registered and had been issued a certificate of exemption in 2024. The chief executive of Maccabi Tel Aviv has told Sky News that their match against Aston Villa tomorrow night has been taken over by people who want to spew hatred. Away fans were banned from the game at Villa Park amid public safety concerns, a decision the Prime Minister condemned and wanted to overturn before the Israeli club said it wouldn't take up its ticket allocation even if granted. But Jack Angeledis did acknowledge elements in his club's fan base were not in line with its values. Jack Angeledis was speaking to our sports correspondent Rob Harris in Birmingham. And Rob, the most challenging of backdrops to this game.
Yes, football becoming the focal point for the anger and tensions caused by the Gaza war. More than 700 police officers will be deployed for Aston Villa's match against Maccabi Tel Aviv tomorrow night. Already in Birmingham today, I've seen pockets of pro-Palestinian, anti-Israeli protests, some calling for Israeli clubs to be banned completely from European football. That hasn't happened, but the Maccabi fans are banned from this game, and their chief has been telling me they've still not been given a precise reason why that was ever put in place by authorities here in Birmingham. The police reference past incidents, including a year ago in Amsterdam when Maccabi Tel Aviv fans were attacked by locals, but also their fans were heard chanting anti-Arab abuse, also ripping down Palestinian flags. And that's why there has been attention on whether or not there was not only concerns about the locals potentially causing issues to the Maccabi fans, but the visiting fans also creating problems here. And that's something addressed by the Maccabi Tel Aviv chief executive, Jack Angeledis, in an interview with me when he arrived in Birmingham.
We know we've got a long road ahead. There are elements in the club that they're not in line with our values, our morals, and we do expend a lot of energy and have been for many, many years in trying to eradicate that. But to malign thousands and thousands of good fans with the actions of a few, it's a dangerous game.
He's very concerned, he says, about falsehoods being spewed about the team and their fans in the build-up to this most fraught of fixtures in the Europa League at Villa Park. There will be a much larger perimeter put in place around the stadium. Local schools are closing by 2 o'clock. Such is the concern about protests both from the Palestinian and Israeli sides around the ground. And certainly what we're hearing from the police is they want to try to balance out the right to protest but also protecting those communities.
Rob, thank you very much for your reporting there. Now, Sir Keir Starmer will be amongst the world leaders meeting in Brazil tomorrow ahead of the COP30 climate summit. Also in the country is Prince William, and tonight the winners of his latest Earthshot prizes will be revealed there. We'll hear more about that in a moment. One man who won't be attending is Donald Trump as he wages war on renewable energy. The US president has promised to drill, baby drill, and make the most of his country's oil and gas reserves. Our science and technology editor, Tom Clark, has been investigating what it means for the future of clean energy.
Off the coast of Rhode Island, they're racing to complete one of America's largest renewable energy projects before Donald Trump can pull the plug.
I've always been a Trump supporter because I've always felt that as a fisherman, Trump has had our backs as working men.
Fishermen like Gary Yerman, hired with their boats to support construction, voted for Trump. Then their president ordered work to stop.
From a personal standpoint, I think that I'm puzzled why he did what he did at this juncture of a wind farm that's 80% completed. I don't understand why.
But with Trump and wind, it's complicated. And a particular beef goes all the way back to 2012 when he tried and failed to sue the Scottish government for ruining the view from his golf course in Aberdeenshire. And he's clearly not forgotten.
They're ugly, they don't work,
They kill your birds. They're bad for the environment.
Wind is a disaster. It's a very expensive joke, frankly.
The $5 billion Revolution Wind scheme is one of several off America's northeast coast built to fill growing gaps in the power grid.
Just a single rotation of this turbine would generate enough electricity to power the average American household for a year.
But will it? The company behind the project won an injunction allowing construction to continue for now. But Mr. Trump's assault on clean energy is absolute.
This climate change, it's the greatest con job ever perpetrated on the world, in my opinion.
The administration has removed all support for solar, wind and electric vehicles in favour of fossil fuels. But it's doing so as US energy demand is soaring. This is the Mitsubishi Power Factory outside Savannah, Georgia. They make turbines that turn natural gas into electricity for power stations supplying America's grid.
This is one of the world's largest and most efficient gas turbines, and demand for these is skyrocketing as electricity demand in the US is driven upwards by AI and data centres, meaning this factory in Georgia literally can't make them fast enough.
I've been in the industry almost 30 years, and I've never seen the demand be where it's at today.
And as they see it, the Trump administration's pivot towards fossil fuels is the best way to meet rising demand.
We're looking at data centers that are wanting a gigawatt of power. Renewables can't support round-the-clock baseload generation.
With wait times for new gas turbines doubling, some US utilities are struggling to manage demand or looking to polluting coal-fired power plants to meet it. Not only could that slow the pace of AI development, but lock America into fossil fuels for decades. Tom Clark, Sky News.
Well, we mentioned it a few minutes ago that Prince William will tonight appear at the Earthshot Awards ceremony in Rio. Our royal correspondent Rhiannon Mills is in Rio this evening. Rhiannon, we saw one side of the environmental challenge in Tom Clark's report there. Earthshot seems to represent the other, a more optimistic approach, would you say?
Yeah, that's right. And in some ways, the fact that you've got that juxtaposition between what Prince William is trying to do with the Earthshot Awards, which has always been trying to inject some optimism and energy into the climate crisis debate, and then the fact that tomorrow he is going to head to that UN COP climate conference, and all the pessimism and the thoughts that maybe we're not going to see anything meaningful come from it. I think it just shows how pertinent it is, the work that Prince William is trying to do. Like, really, with this Earthshot Awards, they are not doing it on a shoestring. We've got some really big, famous faces here. I think I can get Paul, my cameraman, to spin round, and you can see over there, Kylie is just waiting for Prince William to arrive. You're live on Sky News. How are you feeling? Good luck with your performance later.
I'm really excited to see everyone. There's amazing people doing incredible things, so it's good to be here. It's meant to do.
And Prince William's he's a great leader, yeah? In terms of the environment issue.
Absolutely, it's an incredible initiative. I love how I'm on the wrong side of the green carpet, but that's fine. This is the waiting zone.
Sorry, we spotted you. I had to say hello. So there you go. Enjoy the performance later. So the whole thing is kind of trying to get big, well-known faces involved to try and, hook in a younger audience, but also counter the negativity that Prince William thinks we've seen over the years. The Earthshot Prize, if you haven't heard about it before, it basically celebrates the innovators, the entrepreneurs who are coming up with some really innovative solutions to some of the world's most pressing problems. They get some big prizes as well if they win. 5 £1 million prizes being handed out tonight. Of course, we can't forget that this has been a really tumultuous time for the royal family. I think the Prince and his team will be breathing a bit of a sigh of relief that we've managed to get to this point in the week. And look, there haven't been any big revelations about his Uncle Andrew. They have managed to kind of keep our minds on the issue that really matters to him, the environment, and ultimately showing that he can be a brilliant global leader where, if you like, politicians and some royals have let people down.
Rhiannon, thank you. Just one very quick last question. How excited would the 16-year-old Rhiannon have been at speaking to Kylie Minogue?
Oh, look, you've rumbled me. I'm just giddy. It's amazing.
We can tell. Rhiannon, thank you.
See you later.
That was Sky News at 10. Coming up, we'll take a first look at tomorrow's newspapers in the press preview. Tonight, we're joined by the Sun's political editor, Jack Elsom, and journalist and broadcaster, Jenny Kleeman. Among stories, we'll be discussing this on the front of The Guardian about tonight's top story here on Sky News. Its headline, Lammy under pressure after 2 more prisoners mistakenly freed. Do stay with us. We'll be right back.